The world knew her as Elara Vance, a name that shimmered like starlight on a moonless night. Her voice was a tapestry woven from heartache and hope, her songs the anthems of a generation. But before the sold-out stadiums and the platinum records, she was just Lara, and her world was a cramped, fourth-floor walk-up that always smelled faintly of turpentine and cheap coffee. And in that world there was Leo. Leo was the architect of the Elara Vance dream. He wasn't a musician, not in the way she was. He was a believer. He worked 2 soul-crushing jobs, a barista by day, a stockboy by night, so Lara could afford voice lessons. He sold his vintage Telecaster, his one inheritance from his father, to pay for her first professional demo. He spent sleepless nights learning sound engineering from online tutorials, hunched over a second-hand laptop, meticulously mixing her tracks until every note was perfect. Her lyrics were her soul, but the melodies, the bridges, the very structure that held them aloft. Many of those were born from Leo's quiet, unwavering devotion. He was her roadie, her manager, her producer, her publicist, and her lover. He was the scaffolding that allowed her to build herself into a skyscraper. When she cried after a botched open mic night, he held her. When she was on the verge of quitting, he'd play her their favorite song and whisper, "One day, that'll be you. I know it." The day the call came from Stellan Records, they were eating instant ramen on the floor of their apartment. Leo had answered, his voice trembling as he handed the phone to Lara. He watched, his heart a frantic drum solo, as her face transformed from disbelief to pure, unadulterated ecstasy. That night, they didn't sleep. They danced to the city's hum, dreaming of a future they had built together, brick by painstaking brick. The change was gradual at first. It started with missed calls and texts answered hours later with a curt, "In a session, sorry." Then it was the new friends, the publicists and stylists who looked at Leo with a mixture of pity and disdain, as if he were a piece of furniture from her old life that didn't match the new decor. Lara, now Elara, started calling him sweet, in a way that felt condescending. She'd say things like, "You wouldn't understand, Leo. It's a different world." The end came not with a bang, but with the sterile click of a phone call. He was waiting for her at their apartment, his apartment now, he supposed, to celebrate the release of her debut album, Scaffolding, a title that felt like a cruel private joke. She was in Los Angeles. "Leo," she began, her voice distant, polished by a media coach. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. My team thinks. I think that for me to really fly, I need a clean slate." "A clean slate? Lara, what are you talking about? I'm your slate. We're the foundation." A sigh, impatient and weary. "That's just it. You're the foundation of who I was. I'm someone else now. This whole thing, us, it's holding me back. It's a small-town story, and I'm going global." "Holding you back," he whispered, the ramen he'd prepared growing cold on the counter. "I sold my father's guitar for you." "And I'll always be grateful," she said, the words hollow and rehearsed. "I'll have my business manager send you a check. Consider it severance." The line went dead. Severance. Like he was an employee. The man who had sacrificed his youth, his dreams, his very identity for her, was dismissed with a financial transaction. In that moment, something inside Leo fractured. The boundless love that had fueled him for years curdled, cooled, and hardened into something else entirely. It was a cold, dense, and infinitely patient thing. Hate. He cashed the check. It was for a sickeningly large amount, enough to make him feel both insulted and complicit. He didn't spend it on comfort. He packed a single bag, left the apartment with its ghost of her laughter, and disappeared. 5 years later, the name Adrian Valerius was whispered with a kind of fearful reverence in the highest echelons of the entertainment industry. No one knew where he came from. His backstory was a carefully constructed enigma of European old money and a prescient genius for market trends. He was a phantom who moved through the worlds of finance and media, acquiring assets, flipping companies, and building an empire with silent, terrifying efficiency. Adrian was tall, his posture impeccable. He wore bespoke suits that cost more than Leo's old annual salary. A meticulously trimmed beard disguised the soft jawline Lara used to kiss, and colored contacts turned his warm brown eyes into chips of icy gray. He had erased Leo, sanding down his rough, earnest edges and replacing them with the polished, predatory grace of a panther. The desperation that had fueled Leo's love was now channeled into a singular, all-consuming ambition. He had used Elara's severance as seed money, leveraging his obsessive intellect to master the stock market, then tech investments, and finally, media acquisitions. His sole purpose was to accumulate enough power to reach her. Elara Vance was now a global icon. She was untouchable, a goddess of pop culture. But Adrian saw the cracks Leo had known were always there. Her last 2 albums had been critically panned as repetitive and uninspired. She was coasting on her brand, her image meticulously curated by a team that feared her temper. She was a queen in a gilded cage, and Adrian Valerius had just bought the company that manufactured the bars. Through a series of hostile takeovers and leveraged buyouts, Adrian's holding company, Ethelred Capital, acquired a controlling interest in Stellan Records' parent company. No one connected the enigmatic financier to the forgotten boyfriend from a past life. The first meeting was in her glass-walled penthouse office overlooking Central Park. Elara was every bit the superstar. Imperious, beautiful, and bored. She didn't even glance up when he entered. "You have 10 minutes, she said, scrolling through her phone. "My current team is doing just fine." Adrian sat opposite her, his calmness a stark contrast to her agitated energy. He didn't speak. He simply placed a single folder on her desk. She ignored it. "Did you hear me?" she snapped. "I did." Adrian's voice was a low, resonant baritone, nothing like Leo's eager tenor. "But you're mistaken. Your team is not doing fine. Your streaming numbers are down 18% quarter over quarter. Your social media engagement is synthetic, driven by bots your team purchased in Mumbai. And your next album, the one you've been working on for a year, has 3 tracks that are so melodically similar to Bulgarian folk songs that you'd be facing a plagiarism suit before the first chorus finishes." Elara finally looked up, her eyes wide with shock and fury. "Who the hell do you think you are?" "I'm the man who now owns your contract," Adrian said, his gray eyes pinning her to her chair. "I am your new reality. You can either work with me and become a legend, or you can fight me and become a footnote. The choice is yours. But you will make it now." She saw in him a ruthlessness that mirrored her own ambition. He was power incarnate. She had never been so intimidated, or so intrigued. She opened the folder. Inside was a detailed 30-page plan for her career revitalization, complete with market analysis, branding strategy, and even song concepts that were more insightful than anything her own team had produced in years. "You'll have complete control?" she asked, a flicker of vulnerability showing. "Over your career, yes," he replied smoothly. "To protect my investment." She didn't recognize him. Not a flicker. To her, Leo was a ghost, a faded photograph. This man was a god of industry. "Fine," she said. "Let's get to work." Adrian's takeover of Elara's life was methodical and absolute. He began by proving his value. He orchestrated a PR coup that painted her as a misunderstood genius, not a fading star. He secured her a residency in Las Vegas for a staggering sum and a leading role in a gritty indie film that would shock critics and showcase her hidden depths. Her fame and fortune swelled to unprecedented heights. She began to rely on him, not just for her career, but for everything. His first move was to isolate her. He called it streamlining her operations. Her longtime manager, a sycophant but a loyal one, was fired for financial mismanagement, with Adrian providing a meticulously fabricated paper trail to prove it. Her publicist was replaced by a woman on Adrian's payroll. Her security detail, her assistant, even her personal chef, one by one, they were swapped out for his people. They were all competent, efficient, and their loyalty was to him alone. He was building a new cage around her, this one invisible and inescapable. He became her sole confidant. She'd call him late at night, complaining about the pressures of fame. He would listen, his voice a calm and steady presence, offering solutions. He was the perfect support system, the new scaffolding. He learned her secrets, her fears, her vanities. And he recorded everything. Every conversation, every vain confession, every cruel dismissal of a fan or a rival, was saved to an encrypted hard drive. The centerpiece of his revenge was a charity he established in her name, the Vance Foundation for Young Artists. It was his idea, pitched to her as a way to give back and soften her increasingly diva-like image. It became a massive success, raising millions at galas filled with the rich and famous. Elara loved the adulation. She gave tearful speeches about her own humble beginnings, never mentioning the boy who sold his guitar for her. Adrian ran the foundation with his signature efficiency. He also, through a labyrinth of offshore accounts and shell corporations, began systematically embezzling a portion of the funds, funneling them into a single, untraceable account in the Cayman Islands, an account that was legally, though unknowingly to her, in Elara's name. The paper trail was a work of art, a masterpiece of misdirection that pointed directly, and solely, to her. The final piece of the puzzle was the song. Elara was desperate for a hit, an anthem that would redefine her. Adrian told her he had found it. He presented her with a demo, a raw, soul-shattering ballad about betrayal and loss called Cobblestone Heart. The voice on the demo was a young woman, full of anguish and raw talent. "Who is this?" Elara breathed, captivated. "A songwriter from Nashville. No name. She's willing to sell the rights for a flat fee. Exclusively," Adrian said. "This song could win you a global music award." The truth was more complex. Adrian had spent a year searching for the perfect pawn. He found a girl named Maya, a struggling singer-songwriter with a voice like an angel and a story of heartbreak that mirrored his own. He didn't just buy her song. He paid her to disappear. He set her up with a new life in Argentina, under a new name, with a contract that forbade her from ever claiming authorship. But before she left, he had her document the entire songwriting process. Dated journals, original handwritten lyrics, and dozens of time-stamped video recordings of her composing and perfecting Cobblestone Heart. He kept it all. Elara, blinded by ambition, recorded the song. She poured her manufactured pain into it, believing it was her own. It became the biggest hit of her career, a global phenomenon that earned her universal acclaim for its brutal honesty and vulnerability. It was nominated for Song of the Year at the GMAs. The stage for her destruction was set. The night of the Global Music Awards was the apex of Elara's life. She was a vision in diamond and silk, walking the red carpet with an aura of invincibility. Adrian was by her side, a handsome, powerful shadow. He looked at her, his face a mask of supportive admiration. "Nervous?" he asked. "With you here?" "Never," she said, squeezing his arm. "After this, Adrian, I feel like we can do anything. Maybe we could even be more than business." He gave a slight, chilling smile. "Anything is possible." He excused himself just before she was seated, citing a last-minute broadcast issue he needed to oversee. He went to a private suite he had booked in the arena, a room filled with monitors and a high-speed internet connection. It was time. At exactly 8:15 p.m., as Elara was being interviewed on the live pre-show, he initiated the sequence. The first domino fell on the website of the most respected investigative music journalist in the world. The headline, Elara Vance's Cobblestone Heart, a stolen masterpiece. The article contained an exhaustive account of Maya's story, complete with scans of her handwritten lyrics, links to her original, time-stamped demos, and a video of Maya herself, her face obscured, tearfully recounting how her song was purchased and she was paid to vanish. Simultaneously, a press release from a renowned forensic accounting firm hit the wire services. It detailed a 6-month investigation into the Vance Foundation, revealing millions of dollars embezzled and traced directly to a Cayman Islands account in the sole name of Elara Vance. Bank statements, transfer logs, it was all there, undeniable and damning. The third and most vicious strike came on social media. A Twitter account, @VanceUnveiled, began releasing the audio clips. Elara's voice, clear as a bell, mocking a fan with a disability. Elara laughing with her stylist about how pathetically grateful other artists were. Elara, in a venomous tirade, calling the very fans who adored her a mindless, tasteless sheep who would buy my grocery lists if I put a beat behind them. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. On the red carpet, phones began to buzz. Publicists' faces went pale. A low murmur swelled into a roar. Elara saw the panic in her interviewer's eyes as he stared at his earpiece. "Elara, we're getting some breaking news, reports of song plagiarism and charity fraud?" The cameras swarmed her, the flashbulbs like machine gun fire. Her smile froze, then crumbled. She looked around wildly, searching for the one person who could fix this, the one person who controlled her world. She looked for Adrian. She found him back in her dressing room. He wasn't panicking. He was standing calmly, watching the pandemonium unfold on a large screen. He turned as she burst in, her face a mask of terror and confusion. "Adrian! What's happening? You have to do something. Your people need to kill this story," she shrieked, her voice cracking. He looked at her, and for the first time in 5 years, he let the mask of Adrian Valerius slip. The icy gray of his eyes seemed to melt away, revealing the deep, wounded brown she hadn't seen since that final phone call. He didn't say a word. He simply reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn, silver guitar pick. The one he used to keep for good luck, the one she'd given him on their first anniversary. Her breath hitched. The blood drained from her face as she stared from the pick to his eyes, the connection finally, impossibly, searing itself into her brain. The sharp angles of Adrian's face seemed to soften, resolving into the familiar features of the boy she had left behind. "Leo," she stammered, the name a ghost on her lips. "You said you needed a clean slate," he said, his voice quiet, devoid of the accent, devoid of the power, filled only with the chilling calm of a mission accomplished. "I thought I'd give you one." No, it can't be. "I built you up, Lara. I was the scaffolding for your dream," he continued, taking a step closer. "It's only fitting I'd be the one to tear it all down. Every gala, every hit song, every award, I gave them to you. I made you a queen just so you'd have farther to fall. I wanted you at the absolute peak of your world, so when you looked down, you'd see me. The man you threw away for all of it." The full weight of his 5-year plan crashed down on her. The isolation, the charity, the song, it was all him. He hadn't just sought revenge. He had become the god of her world only to orchestrate its apocalypse. "You're a monster," she whispered, tears of rage and horror streaming down her face, ruining her perfect makeup. "You made me," Leo said, dropping the pick. It clattered on the floor, a final tiny sound in the thunder of her collapse. He walked to the door, not looking back. "By the way," he added, his hand on the knob, "my severance check cleared. Thank you." He left her there, a fallen idol in the ruins of the life he had both given her and taken away. As he walked through the chaotic backstage corridors, a ghost slipping away from the carnage, he felt no elation, no triumph. The fire of vengeance that had burned in him for 5 years had consumed everything, including himself. All that was left was a hollow, echoing emptiness. He had destroyed Elara Vance, but Leo was gone too, and Adrian Valerius had no reason left to exist. He was just a man with a past he could never reclaim and a future he had never planned for. The revenge was perfect, and it had cost him everything. Again.